So I literally, I have always loved fashion. Even when I was deployed, I would search through all of the women's care packages and steal all the fashion magazines. I'd cut them out. And I made this big collage for my wife one time on the back of this refrigerator box, and I actually mailed it from Iraq.
Oh, really?
We still have it. It's the funniest damn
Well,
thing.
thank you for your service.
Oh, you're welcome. And then, so I literally, I told my wife one day I came home. I said, "Listen, I'm gonna teach myself to sew." And she says, "Well, when are you going to do that?" I held up my sewing machine. I was like, right now. And I sat down at the couch on a TV tray and I made a purse. It was upside down and it didn't work right, but I got better.
Nice.
And then it just sort of blossomed from there. And it's funny, though, because I was just doing onesies and twosies for my wife. And then we said, well, let's go to a fashion show, because we've never been to one before. This was fall of 2016. So we Googled fashion shows locally in town, Denver Fashion Week. It just happened to be the next week.
Oh, wow.
So we bought tickets, we went, and we sat there in the front row, and I leaned over and I said, you know what? I'm going to be on that runway. I love it. Just fell in love with it. Yeah. The artistry, everything, I love it. And I truly found my piece in this creative process. So it was great. And I sent pictures of what I'd done to the producer. And he said, yeah, come on out. So the spring of 2017 was my first show. And I went out my way, did it my way. Because obviously I don't have the playbook, so I don't know what the rules are. So I broke them all.
Nice.
And we just exploded. By the end of 2017, we'd already been to Baltimore and New York Fashion Week for the first season, and we've just been growing ever since. And now, the message has evolved. This is still where my piece is, and so that hasn't changed. But now it's more about teaching people that you have your own demons, you have your own obstacles on your journey, and you've been told, hey, you're this thing and this label, and you can't be anything else. And I'm here to tell you that, I'm more than a label. I'm just like you. And if this old biker can do it, you can do it too. And that doesn't mean you have to be a creative baby, but, just because somebody says you can't do it doesn't mean you can't try.
Follow your passion.
Well, that's just it. And just because your path is steeper, your mountain's higher, then you can still make it to the top.
Right. Awesome.
And I'm still plugging away, so I haven't given up yet. I still get mistaken for that. I just did an interview with Telemundo, and they thought I was the maintenance man there to work on the building.
That's awesome. Yeah,
well,
you don't necessarily fit the traditional.
No, I don't,
designer,
and I don't act like one either. I'm not a diva.
I love when you came out after the show and you're like, rock it up.
Well,
like, yes, I love the energy.
That actually sparked from that very first runway we saw. And the designer came out, and he barely came out from behind. He was just like, yeah, and then he left, and I'm like, who is that guy? I didn't even see him. I didn't even know who it was. So I was like, how do I connect the clothes to this guy? And I forget him because there's like 7 or 8 designers, and I forget him. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing that. When I come out, by God, they're going to remember who I am.
Right. I mean, you're high-fiving the crowd.
Yeah, and that's the other part of that. So the other half of that is not only going to remember me, but I want to make fashion accessible. Sure. So I like to bring the audience in, because there's always that invisible wall where they're like, oh, that's high fashion, and I'm just an audience member. But really, the landscape of what fashion is now is dictated by those people in the audience. They're the ones that create the trends, and they're the ones that wear the clothes, and I can't do it without them. So I need them to be a part of the runway, and really be able to say, I can see myself in that on a runway, at work, wherever I'm, working it just like that, and that I think is more inspiring, more empowering than any words I could say. So just bringing them into it is one of those things. And a lot of times by the time I come out, the audience is asleep anyway.
You woke them up?
I do, because all the...
Jeez, the music, the power, I mean...
Music, the French opera.
Oh, my God.
Lord,
so we played, was it Godsmack? Which was the...
I started out with Disturbed.
Okay, and then you went into...
then I think it was Shine Down was the second one.
God, that was awesome.
Yeah, always rock. This season's even more fun, because we're going to go all the way back to some hard 80s stuff, like Judas Priest. We're going back to early industrial.
Nice.
It's fun, though, because I work with a DJ out of Kansas City, and the music that we got is pretty fun. It's one of those things where you're expecting one thing and something else will happen, so it's fun.
Very nice. Very cool. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. And where do you see yourself going with fashion? Where do you want to go with it? So what do you want to do? What's your goal?
I think at this point is just inspire as many people as I can. Okay. To just make my legacy will be this fashion brand teaching people that they can be more than what they're being told that they are. Awesome. And I think that's going to be my legacy, and that's the one thing I want to do is just tell people, look, you're more than a label.
Right.
I'm more than a label. We all are, and maybe eventually that will transcend into something more socially universal.
One thing I think everybody sees with you right away is your heart.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely genuine, and I'm passionate about what I do.
Yeah, everybody falls in love with you when they meet you.
And you know, it's funny because like all the models, they become family to me. This kind of thing, because I just make rapping like a gift. Couldn't do it without them. Okay. And I've never liked this notion that they were just mannequins on the runway. Because if that were the case, I got a mannequin right there. I put it on wheels, push it down the runway, it'd be great. Yeah. But it's just not. I need somebody to bring them to life. I need their character. I need their soul. I need their spirit to bring those pieces to life. Because everybody has a different way that they do that. I can put the same look on 4 different people and it'll look completely different each time. Right. And I think that's the point. Sure. And so I approach fashion in a different way. I approach it certainly more from a humanitarian, more of an artistic eye than I do from a business side. Sure. Although you have to do the business to keep it running. But
amen.
So it's a funky balance, sure. You know, to try and break against that hegemony, but at the same time you still have to work within it. You know, some of my inspiration in terms of how I deal with, you know, some of the norms in the social industry is early civil rights leaders, where they sat down and they said, hey, this is the way we need to do it because this is going to be the most effective, and it worked. Awesome. I mean, it's not perfect, but it certainly worked.
Absolutely.
So if I can at least get the ball rolling, maybe we can make some changes.
Amen. Amen. So we're starting what we call an LOS movement, Love Oneself, and so we're doing that on 9/10. And it just, your heart kind of reminds me of that. So.
Yeah, no, you have to. I mean, you have to be proud of who you are, right? And you have to be, because you can't spread love if you don't have it for yourself. Exactly. And so many people get bogged down with trying to show people what they think the world wants to see, and the reality is you just need to show people your voice. You need that's what you need to show, and nothing else than that. Because, you know, just like Popeye, I am what I am. Amen. And that's all that I am.
That's right, and you're beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
well,
thank you so
fashion
much.
Loves an ugly face. That's for sure.
Thank you so much, Duane.
Oh, you're welcome.